is currently 7:16 a.m. and the sun is supposed to be rising, but as you can see, it is extremely cloudy and there's no sunrise. But that's okay because this video is all about how to edit a travel video, and the first step in that is planning. Let's talk about that. Recently I posted a travel video filmed in Banff, and I kind of wanted to break down the video and just give my tips in general about how to edit a travel film. We're gonna go through the planning, shooting, and editing process. Let's first talk about planning. I spent only 3 days in Canada, and that is a very short amount of time, so planning is key. The first step in having a good video and plan is figure out all of your best locations and create an itinerary. I made an itinerary. I knew I wanted to have full days full of shooting. Shooting takes a lot of time. You need to plan for you to get distracted and you to want to get all the shots possible. So make sure you allocate a lot of time to shooting at each location. Now, like today, you're not always gonna know what the weather is like. So maybe you wanted to have a fully 3-day trip with sun and you end up with this. You're gonna have to adapt your video to that, so I think it's important to remember that you can't always plan everything. So just having an itinerary, planning your locations, planning some key shots that you might need, and maybe making a little bit of a shot list is super key to just not wasting time on the trip and making sure you get everything you need, because if you're going for 3 days, you're gonna need a lot of footage within that 3 days. So when planning for that Banff video, I pretty much made a Google Doc of every single day, my flight details, car, everything. It's kind of like planning for a trip. You should do that in general, but I made sure to also include just general like sunrise locations and make sure everything is kind of mapped out and close to each other so that you're not really wasting time, you're not going from one location to the other side. But also, I think it's important to allocate some time where you don't have anything planned, because maybe one day you see something and it's not in your schedule, but you want to check it out later because it could be a cool spot. Make sure you have maybe like your last day where you can kind of spend your time just looking around and seeing what you can find. Now let's move on to shooting. It is so important when you have a tight shoot to make sure you know all the shots that you're getting, which we figured out in the planning stage. Now you want to make sure when you're at location, you have full coverage of everything. Full coverage of the location means wide, medium, close-up shots, time lapses, and maybe even some drone footage if you're allowed to in the national park. And when shooting, I like to think about getting different sequences. So for example, we have the Emerald Bay sequence. I wanted to make sure that I got different angles of her walking up and sitting on the ledge and the different viewpoints. I could think of the kayaking as a different sequence or the sunrise as a different sequence. So make sure that you're kind of getting as much footage of each spot and seeing it as different sequences, which will make it easier when you go to your edit. I also think it's super important to wake up early and make the most out of your days and getting that good lighting at sunrise or some pretty time lapses at sunset. Time lapses in the daytime aren't as effective, I feel like, so try to like get those in the morning or sunset hour. My camera is literally full on wet. So I honestly think we need to postpone this video shoot. So it is now later in the day. Let me finish up with shooting. So when you're shooting, make sure you have a variety of shots. When you're filming, you're gonna maybe pan to the left or pan to the right or move forward and move backward. If you can shoot all of those things, then it makes it so much easier when you're editing because you have all those different types of options. Another thing is to make sure you have both 60 frames per second and 24 frames per second videos, just because you want to make sure you have enough slow-mo clips if you need it. And I highly suggest if you have a camera that you could do custom settings with, make sure you can easily change between 24 frames and 60 frames by having 2 different custom settings. Another thing you might want to think about with the shots is to think about if you want it to be fast moving clips or slow. When you're editing, do you want the entire film to be the same pace, or do you want to kind of speed it up in the middle or in the end? You want to shoot based on what you might want in the edit. And now that brings me to the topic of editing. Okay, editing. This is kind of like the most overwhelming part. Honestly, you have all this footage and you need to make it into a video. But I have a few steps that can kind of make it easier, kind of make it less overwhelming. The very first thing that I like to do is cut out all the clips into one single timeline. The next thing you're gonna do after you've got all your clips down in one timeline is to separate them into different sequences. For example, I have Lake Louise, I have Moraine Lake, I have Emerald Bay. We're separating all the different locations into different sequences, and make sure you change the sequence name and just be super organized with this. Within those location sequences, you want to basically trim it all the way down for just the clips that you want to have in the final edit. You want to start building out those scenes. You want to just make it super easy for you to bring into the final editing timeline. Doing this now, you have a good idea of all the footage that you have, and it makes it so much easier for you to bring in your best clips and also figure out maybe the type of order that you want to go into. For the BAMF video, maybe I wanted to start off sunny, go into cloudy, and then go back into sunny. Now you want to pick out the song. Maybe you already had the song in mind, but if not, this is a good time to find the song and figure out the vibe for the video. So when you're ready to pick the song, you want to go to Epidemic Sound, which is the sponsor for this video. Epidemic Sound makes it so easy for you to find the perfect fit for your travel video. You can literally go through different genres, different vibes. So if you want a relaxing vibe or an uplifting vibe, you can find it so easily. And this is honestly why I love Epidemic Sound so much. It is just so easy to just click on the different tags and find the perfect song. And this goes the same for all of the sound effects that I like to use. I've literally been using Epidemic Sound since 2017 for all of my music and sound effects. Epidemic Sound's library has over 35,000 tracks and 90,000 sound effects, with new tracks literally added every week, so you're never gonna run out of new songs to find. It is super perfect for YouTubers and any online creators because you won't get any copyright strikes or takedowns, and there are different license plans, so there's the personal plan or the commercial plan, and it all depends on what you really need. You guys can sign up with the link in my description for a 1-month free trial, and thank you so much Epidemic Sound for sponsoring all of my last videos. Okay, so that pretty much sums up that editing process. After sound design, I do color. I bring it into maybe like a different sequence setting so I could have a different aspect ratio. You're pretty much done with the video. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.